I'm going to start looking at another application. So for those of you that would use Photoshop or a lot of the stuff that we covered now, you can use GIMP, for example, to create GIFs as well. GIMP is great because it gives you a lot more flexibility and a lot more. So for example, I could use GIMP to get rid of all the backgrounds of those images and put it on a different background. I can paint the background, for example, in GIMP as well. So let me just show you how a GIF is actually put together and created. So what's nice about GIMP, it's open source, totally free, but it's got a lot of functionality in terms of working with images. I'm actually super impressed. I've been using Adobe Photoshop most of my life, but I've been learning this software bit by bit, and I must admit it's super powerful for being an open source bit of software. Just some food for thought. You won't believe this, but Google, when Google started, they used GIMP to put all of their website information together, and they used this imaging editing software to develop Google's brand imagery, basically. So when they started off in their basement or garage, this is the software they use. So just some trivia. Okay, so on my desktop, I'm going to go to the Photos folder, and I'm going to open the GIF. Okay, I'm going to open this GIF. I'm going to say open. So what's neat is you can quickly see how. So all it is a series of images stitched together in a sequence. Okay. So it's actually very, very easy to put the stuff together. But what's also nice about Photoshop, about this application, which I like, is that it removes the background for me. So the software, it kind of, yes, it does look messy, but it's easy to fix. So each one of these images is just because they're all on. You can burn the background in all of them, and it will do that for you. So, okay. So in essence, all that's going on is just creating a series of images that we can then use different backgrounds, for example. So for example, you can drop in a different background here, like a black or white background. So this is how they're made. I'm going to start a new one. Yes, it's called GIMP. There is a link to this, so I'll show you where that link is. I'll show you exactly where to go and download this bit of software. Okay, give me 2 seconds. If you go to, it's on our module page, you go to courses, OKU 100, and you go to the architectural module. So at OKU 100 lecture notes and tutorials. On this landing page, here's the link to get GIMP and Inkscape. So if you go to this page, okay, and I've given you a link to access some channels where you can follow. These people are very good. They've been using it for a long time, and they make some excellent tutorial videos. So here you can go and learn GIMP as you're using it. So that's the best way to do it. Start using it and learn by watching a lot of these materials and following what we do in class. The only way you learn software is by starting to use it. Okay. All right. So that's where you can go and get GIMP. And there's some other little video editing software that we'll look at later on. But for now, we just want to create a GIF. Okay. So this is how they're put together. Okay. But you can see Google hasn't done, it's done a good, I mean, the website's done a fairly good job. But you can see the extraction of the images is not great. It's very messy. And I want to do that more professionally because maybe I want to put in a background, that kind of thing. So let's just quickly see how we can do it more professionally in some different software that's more suited to do this kind of thing. So this discard changes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open an initial image. So I'm going to open up the first image in my sequence. Okay. I'm going to leave everything as is, convert. Okay. So all in essence that we have to do is we just have to start adding a series of these images in sequence. Okay, so I'm just going to pull this to one side, and I'm going to move that folder on my desktop. I'm just going to move it over here so we can see what I'm doing. And it's really this easy. So you're going to go into the photo section. Because we've opened up the first one already, I just have to drag the rest of these and dump it into the layer section. You'll see now it's going to start, it'll keep adding these in. I'm just saying convert, convert. You might have to do this a few times. You can also say, don't ask me again. Just remember, sometimes you need to change your settings, so you might have to go and set it. Okay. Okay, so what it's done, it's put it in a certain order. So you can go and have a look at this order now. Just remember, it starts from bottom up, so you might have to reverse some of these, but that's fine. So this will be my first slide, my second slide, third slide, fourth slide, fifth slide, sixth slide, seventh slide. So here we've stitched those other images in because we're making the arm come back down again. And unlike unlike Google Photos, where it cropped some of the stuff off, we've got full control of how this GIF will work. And what's neat is I can simply go and fix the background sometimes. So say if I want to put this on a different background, for example, I can use some tools in GIMP to kind of help me do that. Okay. So this is just very quick. We'll go through some of these other techniques a bit later on in the year, but just understand that. So I can use the color select tool. I can select all the white background and I can simply delete. Oh yeah, there's no alpha channel. Let me just explain that as well. So with these images, you need to add alpha channels so that if you delete the background, but what it does maintains the, so let me just add one more layer, for example, move right down to the bottom. So let's select this guy, switch this one off, and I'll say none, select none. And for example, if I want to put a different background, so maybe like, let's find a nice color here. This is just very quick. I want foreground color, and I want to make sure that's, no, that's off. Okay, let's switch that off. Shit, there we go. Now if I bring my GIMP, my image back on, sorry, I must just get rid of that. Oh no, that's the mistake. That one must go back up to the top. So let me just move this guy up. That's how you change the order. So what I've done is I've cut out that image, but I've put it on a different background. So this is what I mean by creating a GIF. You can start using the tools in GIMP to get rid of the backgrounds. You can set scenes at the back. So cutting out these images, yeah, they're fairly quick to cut out. Okay, and you can do that with all of them to kind of get that sequence going, but I'm just gonna undo what I've done for the time being. I'm just trying to show you a workflow, for example. So you've got better tools in GIMP to get rid of. So I've got better tools in here to get rid of information and clearing up these drawings. So I've got more professional type tools. So these little backgrounds, I can start cleaning out. Okay, I'm painting, it shouldn't be doing that. Brush, let's change that to white. So here I can start cleaning out this drawing very quickly, professionally. So stitching these things together, just clearing these drawings out, you can see this is a much more professional tool to do that because it's designed to work with images. So here I can go and clean out these images a lot better to create my, but going forward, we'll be using the software time and time again to do certain things, and you will get familiar with it. Just understand that you can use the software to produce a professional looking GIF, for example. Okay, so you can see all the tools work nicely, and there's some really nice tools in here as well I'll just go back to color select again. Color select, color pick. So here, if you hold your mouse down, you can get better results because if you see it's adjusting the threshold. So using threshold, you can get rid of a lot more stuff. So holding it down. So you can see sometimes there's these gray areas that you might have to get into and clean a bit better if you want to really professional looking GIF. Okay, but Google Photos is a great place to start to get used to the concept, etc. Okay, all right, so I'm just going to export this as a GIF now. Okay, let's just switch these on and just play through the animation. And I'm going to set it at 500 milliseconds per slide. But that website is a great website to just check the speeds in which you want to work. So what I do like about this web page is I like the fact that you can simulate and see the effect of the speed. So understanding frames per second, etc. This is a good place to start to kind of see the impact of how this transition speed. If we start making videos, it'll start making a lot more sense how transitions and timing and all that kind of works. The keys, setting at markers, okay, that kind of thing. So let's not worry about that for now. I can close all of this. Okay, so back in GIMP. So now I want to export this information and I want to export it as a GIF. So in File, I'm going to go and say Export As. Okay, literally, you've got two options. You can say, extension. So here you can go and find GIF. So you just hit G on your keyboard, and it'll automatically add that extension to the file name, or you simply just go .gif. Okay, and I'm going to call this GIMP. Okay, export. Now, no. I don't want to replace that one. GIF, GIMP, I'm going to make this GIMP 1. And now, the image you're trying to export as a GIF contains a layer extended to actual boundaries. No, that's, yeah, crop, that's fine. Okay, so now it's going to ask us for some some setting that we need to establish. I'm going to say as animation. Now we can start seeing it's asking us for this timing. So I'm going to make it 500. So once you've played with these settings a bit, you'll get familiar with how this works. Okay, so and you want this to loop forever. Frame disposal, unspecified. Here I want to say 1 frame per layer. So it means that it will always use, if you've cut the background out, you might use a different process. So the bottom frame, cumulative layer, so you might use this option. Okay, but I like this option, I prefer. So 1 frame per layer is what I prefer. Okay, everything else is fine. I'm just going to say export. It'll take about a minute or so, depending on the level of detail. Okay, all right, so that's done. Okay, so that's the outcome using GIMP. So you can see I've used half of the process because I had some images that I could duplicate and add to the sequence. So you technically just have to create half of the sequence, and if you want to use the unwind command, you can use the rest. But if you're creating a sequence of movement, that will be different. Okay. All right, so using the same principle of photos, you can go and create a series of images. So in the beginning, I'll also show you an example of some animated GIFs that I think you've been exposed to already. So I just want to get that information just to go back to that web page and show you there's some great examples out there, and I'll publish some good examples as well. Okay, so I'm just looking for this document here. Okay. So I can use GIMP to cut out these images to kind of create a GIF illustrating this whole process. Okay, so it's simply by taking a series of photographs of your sketches, and ideally you want to work with some sort of frame so that each image that you capture, it's very easy to stitch together in GIMP. Okay, so here I could use this image very quickly. I can use GIMP to cut out. So a typical workflow, you can use Snip Tool, and you can simply start snipping these slides and saving these slides separately. So you can just say 1, 2, 3, and 4. So here you could, technically you could cut out each one of these images, okay, and then stitch them together. But you can do that inside GIMP as well. So maybe let me show you that. So now that I've got this one, I'm going to start a new file, new. I'm just going to start a whole new. Okay, before I start it, I'm going to create an export of this. Now, this is where we're going to get to pixelation and size. So this next step is just going to kind of cover that principle. I'm just going to do the top slide because we are starting to run out of time. Okay, so I'm just going to use this top sequence. I'm just trying to zoom in as best I can, and I'm going to create a snip of this whole top section here. Okay, that's all I want. I'm going to say save. I'm going to save this on my desktop as a test. Got one already, so I'll just say test 2. Okay, now in GIMP, I can just simply go and say open, and I can go to my desktop and open that. Okay, so what's nice about GIMP is we can start using GIMP to cut these images out for us, because GIMP will also start helping put this together. So let's see how many sequences I need. So I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so I'm just going to say duplicate layer, duplicate layer, duplicate layer, duplicate layer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, duplicate layer. Okay, so now I've got a series of layers. I'm going to switch the other ones off. Now I'm just going to use a quick snip tool, current layer only. So here I'm going to use this tool to quickly mask these out as accurately as I can. I might bring in some construction lines so we can set a line at the top to work with, because it's not clear where that happens at the top. So that's my first image. That's my second image. So you get the idea. Doors opening. Okay, what's neat about the software is you can work a lot more accurate on a phone. Yes, you got functionality, but you don't have total control of the outcomes of certain images. I'm going to need the rest of the sequence. Just want to see where I was. What's this one? Okay, so now we've got a sequence of images. The next thing I might want to do is just align all of them in the same area, and then we can do the final crop there later. Okay, now I can go and say, I want to make sure that these images all align with each other. So now I can grab this layer and move it. You can use controls at voice, and then you can lock it. Okay, there's lots of ways to do this. Lots of ways. You can use a snip tool and bring them out. This is just a very quick workflow. You can see those frames weren't all exactly the same, so maybe that's where using this type of software will be more beneficial to you, because you can start making sure that they all are the same size. But for the sake of this exercise, I'm happy with the outcomes. Okay, now you can simply so here's a slight misalignment. So those images that we're using, one or two of them were slightly. So what's neat about this now is you can find which one was out and you can adjust it. So that's what I like about GIMP. It gives you a lot more control. But for the sake of this exercise and for what you're doing now, just understand and realize that you can use your journal to capture a series of sequences. So it's just taking a photo of each sequence, putting them in the order that you achieved. Just remember, this will be scene 1, 2, and 3. And what's neat is you can duplicate these layers and you can make the sequence go in opposite direction as well. But what's neat about this, I can very quickly go and see, this is quite, I want to see the difference between these two. It's pretty close. No, it's good enough. Okay, now that I've got all my layers in, the next thing I want to do is I just want to crop this to the right size. So what do I mean by pixelation? So pixelation, if I start zooming in on the image, you'll notice that we're going to lose clarity because we're starting to see the pixels of each. So each screen that we work on has pixels, and it captures that information in pixels. So each one of these little squares is a pixel. That's 1 pixel. Okay, so working with resolution. So let's just go and see the current resolution of this image, and this is why GIMP's also quite good. You go to canvas size. The current resolution in pixels is 1295 by 273. So I might want to reduce this pixel count to about 270 by 270. Okay, so how do we do that? And this is where putting this stuff on Instagram is also going to count for a lot. So you want the GIF to read clearly. You don't want a lot of pixelation like this because it might not represent that nicely. So try to avoid that pixelation. Just remember this has come from a scan, so it will pixelate badly because the image quality that's embedded in this is not that great. Okay. Right, so now that I've got my image, I'm going to crop, but this time I'm going to crop everything. I want to crop the whole, and I want to fix this to a specific ratio. So here, size-wise, I want to change this to 270 by 270. And what it does is it gives me a fixed crop. I want to fix this to 270. I can move it now by 270. So what it's done is it's moved my crop and it's set it to the right scale for me, but I can see that's still quite large. So I'm going to make this by 150. Let's make it 200 by 200. Okay, now this it's still a bit too. Let's make it 250. So I just want to get the man in just so that works better. And you mustn't scale anything. You've got to do this, otherwise you're going to lose. I'm happy with that. Boom. So what it's done is it's recropped my whole file to suit. Okay, and that's what I want. I want everything in this image to fit within those boundaries. What I am going to do is just introduce a background maybe at the back where we've got like a black background just to improve what I'm looking at. Okay, but what I might also do as well, okay, I'm going to introduce a crop as well just to clean out some other information that I don't need. So let me just see if that line's pretty consistent. Looks like it. Yeah, so it looks like that line is pretty consistent. So I'm going to use a construction line for that line there, and I'm going to create a quick selection, and I'm going to delete some of this information out of this file very quickly. Just on each image. So this layer, I'm just going to say delete, 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 switch it on, delete, switch that on, delete, delete. I'm just getting rid of some useless information there that I don't need. I don't mind the white background. Actually, I'm just going to add one more as a background. I'll put this right at the bottom. That's how you adjust the orders, by the way. Okay, you use these up-down arrow keys to adjust the order. And I'm just going to put a background. I just want to drop a black background. So at least you can put your logo, you can put bits of text that move. So you could technically embed some text into this. So you can put some text moving with this image. So there's lots you can do. So here we can put some text in to make the text appear and disappear. So you could have a series of text moving up the screen here. There's a lot you can do with this, okay? All right, so I'm pretty happy with that. I'm going to go to File, Export As. This is what I mean. You just type GIF, Enter. Likewise, 1 frame per. I've got a background, so that's fine. It might lose that. You might use this combination technique in this, but let's just try the difference. Let's see the difference between the two. 500 milliseconds, that's good. And I'm going to say export. Just remember, we need to give this a good name. Test 2 is fine. Export. Export. Okay, and I'm going to do that again. File, export. Okay, now for this option, I'm going to switch those settings so that we're going to say, here we said one frame, I'm going to say cumulative combination export. Okay, let's go and have a look at the results. Okay, see what happened here is because it had no background in the background, and I've only got a background right at the beginning. You're only getting the full background at the back. So that's the one option. Let's look at the other one. You see that the other one has kept the background layer, so it keeps that background frame. So that's the difference between the two options that we're looking at. Okay, now this, you can see this file size is very small because it's only 250 by 250 pixels. Okay,